ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שהכל נהיה בדברו. Abraham, the first patriarch, was an old man. And God tells him, I want you to do something. I want you to circumcise yourself. And we will enter into some kind of arrangement. There'll be a pact between you and me. I'll be your God, and you will help me along in this world. There's a special relationship that is established then between Abraham and God. God couldn't make a pact, couldn't come to such an arrangement with animals or with any other creature in this world because they have no will of their own. For an arrangement, you have to have two parts. Even if they're not equal, as certainly man is not the equal to God, but on the other hand, he has some kind of freedom of will. There are some people who think that everything is programmed for man too, that we are controlled entirely by our genes. But religion tells you no. Actually, moral life means that you can overcome whatever instincts you have. You can domesticate them. You can somehow put them at your service for something else. In any event, this is what is done. And we see that reflected also in what Jewish tradition ordains us. According to Judaism, before you fulfill a precept of the Torah, you have to recite a blessing. For instance, before you listen to the shofar on Rosh Hashanah, which is a call to teshuvah, to repentance, you have to recite a bracha, which is to listen to the sound of the shofar, because the Torah told you to do that. Before we put on tefillin, which are phylacteries that we put on, one on the arm and one on our head, in order to show that our mind and our heart, because the one on the arm is against our heart, in front of our heart, that our sentiments and intellect have to be at the service of God. So we recite a bracha before we do it, because we are not doing it just because we feel like doing it, but we are doing it because God instructed us to do that. We even do that before we eat a piece of bread. We thank God because of the bread, because after all, sustenance comes from the earth in some miraculous way. You put in a seed in the ground and suddenly you get a tree, you get something that you can eat. So in a way, when we recite a blessing according to our rabbis, we receive permission from the Almighty in order to partake of what is really His. So before we perform a brit, every circumcision, every Jewish male on the 8th day is circumcised. We recite a bracha. But we recite a second bracha in the case of a brit milah. What is the second bracha about? It's about the fact that this child is being introduced into the pact that Abraham made with the Almighty. He is also part of that arrangement. He becomes a co-sponsor. He becomes a co-creator of this world, because man has the freedom to choose. He can dream of things. Man can imagine. Do you remember the song Imagine of John Lennon of the Beatles? Maybe you're too young for it. This is, I think, of 1970, 69, around then. All I want is peace. That's what John Lennon sang. And that was a time when there were wars all over the world, that we can also imagine a time when there is peace. Now, man is creative as well, not only in his imagination, because maybe everything starts with an idea. He can actually afterwards put it into practice. So God made a special relationship with Abraham. You are supposed to teach the world how to behave. If you're Jewish, you're part of this arrangement. If you're not Jewish, you're a human being as well. You can also contribute in order to make this world a better place to live in. Remember that man here is not alone. He is in a relationship with God in this world. Make sure that you do your part before you ask God to do His part.